All right, so most people that are newer to New Balance still recognize the 574 model as one of the iconic staples for the New Balance like heritage line. However, did you know that they actually had an older brother, the 576, and this is the most premium version, and the retail on those are actually $240 currently versus the 574, which is only $90. So I wanted to know the difference between both of these models and do a side-by-side comparison, let you guys know my thoughts on if it's worth buying the 576 over the 574 with the heftier price tag or not. So let's go ahead and get right into this video. Now, I honestly didn't know the difference between these two models. I had to look in and do a little bit of history digging to figure out what the difference was because the price points just didn't seem justified. That's why I wanted to do this video, and that's why I bought these shoes, to do a side-by-side comparison. If you guys do want to support the video, you can always like the video and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you guys do use the links in the description to either buy the 576, 574, or anything else on New Balance's website, I actually do get a little bit of kickback if you guys use my links. It's greatly appreciated, and it lets the brand know that you guys saw the videos. So the crazy thing to me is the 576 actually came out before the 574. It was released originally in 1988 and it was predominantly an all-terrain running shoe. But take a quick step 2 years back in 1986, New Balance released the 575 model. So the 575 was released in 86, the updated 576 was released in 88, and then they had a prototype of the 574 featured the new C-cap cushioned midsole, and it was a hybrid sort of the 575 and the 576, but it was designed to be a little bit more versatile and more cost effective and a more accessible version of the 576. The retail pair of the 574s finally hit the shelves in 1990 and featured the end cap midsole instead of C-cap. Sounds like the actual release dates is kind of up for debate because it sounds like they just threw them on shelves. They didn't really have any promotions behind it. It was kind of like a word of mouth sort of thing. End cap, for those that didn't know, is short for encapsulated, which it features a soft piece of EVA foam surrounded by hard plastic ring for stability. End cap is actually found under the heel inside the midsole and it can't be seen from the outside. So the 574 was really a stripped down budget friendly version of the 576 and it was built kind of for all terrains. But it also became an international success. The 574 was really big in Tokyo as well. The 574 was definitely more accessible with the price points comparison to something like the 990 series, which helped this model really grow in popularity. Sam Pierce, a creative design manager for New Balance, said, "The 574 brief was to build a model for the price-conscious consumer, people that were not willing to buy into the Made in the USA 990 line. So they took the successful 576 upper end and they did a cost-cutting overhaul. They updated the materials, reduced premium internals, simplified midsole tech, and shifted production to Asia." So the big question is, what is really the difference between the 574 and the 576? So other than the price point, really, is there any difference between the two models? As I already mentioned, the cost-cutting materials are different, but the midsole is also a little bit different as well. They both feature end cap, but you have a larger wedge on the 576. The 576s are also made in UK or made in USA. It will say made in USA or made in England on the tongue. That's also embroidered on instead of the New Balance tag on the 574s. Now, as a side-by-side, as you guys can see, like they look both pretty good. Honestly, though, you could definitely tell the most expensive version in hand. And actually, I had my wife and my kids just do like a little side-by-side test, and I just wanted to see if they could actually tell which is the most expensive pair. Just by looking at it, which is the most expensive one? Which one do you think? Harrison said black. Which one do you think? You guys are both right. I will tell you, after putting both of them on feet, you definitely do have a more luxurious feel of the 576. It's definitely one of those shoes that if you really like New Balance and you really want to try something different, I have, a dozen pairs of 990s already. Like this 576 was just a treat to actually put on my feet. It's just something a little bit different than the 990 series. That being said, for the average consumer, is it worth paying $240 instead of $90? I would say probably not, especially if you don't really spend more than $100 on a pair of sneakers in general. I think the majority of the population is going to be very happy with the 574. Keep in mind the materials on the 574 are really nice considering it's a $90 pair of sneakers. The suede material on a pair of 574s at $90 is probably better than most Jordan Retros priced at $210. Also, they have a bunch of different colorways of the 574 and you can get a lot of them on sale. In fact, I'll try to link some of them in the description of the video if you're not interested in paying the full $90 retail, because this is one of those models that come and go and sometimes they drop in price an extra $20, $30, $40. Is it the most comfortable model from New Balance? No, I would say the 990 series by far is more comfortable in my opinion. There's definitely a firmer overall feel on feet with the 576, but it's actually something that some people might prefer. If you like a harder feel underfoot, then this is definitely the better option than the more like comfortable versions of the 990 series. But if you really want comfort, then look into their running side, because the Fresh Foam X and the Fuel Cell I've covered on this channel from the lifestyle perspective. Unbelievable stuff. Now, I did notice they have a couple different versions of the 576s currently available on New Balance's website, and some of them have different materials depending on which ones you get. I think all of them look like they have premium materials and definitely feel them in hand. The one that I have has an interesting puffy mesh over top of the toe box and around the collar. I don't know if I really like that material, but it is different than a standard mesh, and I guess different does feel premium. I would also say that the liner on the 576 does feel more premium. On just overall experience on feet does feel better, and you can see the tricolor midsole under the end cap. It does feel more comfortable on feet as well. And again, aesthetically, they look both very similar. The toe down look looks very similar. You can see the shape of the toe box is very much the same. You do have a little bit of a different stitch pattern right below the laces. The craftsmanship and the materials definitely look better on the 576 as expected for the price point, but again, it doesn't jump out as like crazy nice and expensive comparison, because the 574 is actually pretty decent just as is. You do have some reflective details behind the end and also on the back tab of the shoe, which you don't have on the 574s. And also the New Balance logo is embroidered on the 576 versus just printed on for the 574s. They did mention the shape is a little bit different, and I would say that is true, especially on the heel of the shoe. You could see that it kind of curves inwards at the top of the 576 versus the 574. The outsole looks pretty much exactly the same, except for it's a regrinded material on the 574s, and it is a stickier rubber on the 576. One of the biggest changes on the shoes is the craftsmanship on the insoles of the shoe. You have more of a traditional Strobel on the 574, kind of what we're used to seeing, but then you have a really crazy reinforced Strobel on the 576 that says made in Italy. It definitely adds some firmness to the shoe, and just the way that the entire inside of the shoe is sewn together is really quite impressive. The 576 also has a thicker and softer insole. So to recap, is it worth buying the 576? It depends. It depends on if you want to spend the money on it or not. I mean, honestly, I really was excited to just try it because I was like, this can't be worth more than the other one. They look so similar, and they are very similar to the naked eye, but in hand, you definitely can tell the 576 is really crafted nice. And it's a really interesting take considering it's made before the 574. I didn't know that as well. So I have a grown appreciation of the 576. That being said, if your pockets don't want to pay the money for it, understandable. The 574 is a classic. It's been a classic for years because of the accessibility of what it is. But again, if you're wanting to get more into New Balance and you want something premium, something that you can wear, and like I put this shoe on, I go, nobody knows that this is a 576, but I really like it. Like, it feels really nice and it feels really premium. And if anybody says like, oh, I like your 574s, I'll be like, nah, it's actually a 576. It's a good conversation starter for those people that are maybe newer to New Balance in general. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the 576, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the comparison to the 574. If you guys found this video informative, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you guys like the content. And if you guys do want to buy a pair of these or shop the 990s on New Balance's website, I'll put a link in the description. Have a good rest of the day, and hopefully we'll see you back on the channel for some more content.